afternoon, everyone, and thank you for choosing Across the Fence. I'm Will Michael. It's been 3.5 weeks since the catastrophic flooding that left behind some of the worst destruction our state has ever seen. We now know thousands of homes and businesses have been destroyed. Property losses are staggering. But in the wake of the tragedy, Vermonters have rallied. Millions of dollars have been raised, including more than $2.5 million in just 1 week to the Vermont Flood Response and Recovery Fund. That fund is being administered by the Vermont Community Foundation. More than 100 organizations have already received grants ranging from a few $1,000s to upwards of $100,000. So today we're going to learn more about the Flood Response and Recovery Fund, and we've called on the Vice President for Grants and Community Impact at the Community Foundation. I want to welcome in Holly Morehouse. Holly, good afternoon, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So this has been a difficult time. We've identified you with some help as being the pulse, knowing everything that's going on with this fund. So my first question is, it's now August. How much money has been donated to the fund, and how much have you been able to grant out to Vermont and businesses?
That's a great question. I have to tell you that people have been so generous. So far, we have raised over $4.4 million in the fund. About 2.8 of that is in cash, and another 1.6 are coming in through pledges. We have received funding from a 6-year-old who held a lemonade stand, to really key partners such as the National Life Group or TD Charitable, Vermont Public. We have also had Vermont-based artists, Grace Potter and Noah Kahn, use their time and talent to help raise funds. We have been working across the state with all of our partners, with the governor's office, with state agencies, with local leaders on the ground, nonprofit organizations, to move those dollars out quickly to those in need. So far, we have granted out more than $2 million from that fund.
It's great news. It's heartwarming. Wherever we are on the spectrum, and as you're talking, I just was envisioning the child who's opening the piggy bank with a few pennies. Can I help? It's just a wonderful. Now you have there's a very specific strategy for giving these grants from the Flood Response and Recovery Fund. Tell us a little bit about this strategy that you've put together.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Community Foundation moved very quickly. It was July 11th when we established the Vermont Flood Response and Recovery Fund. Along with that, we knew we were going to need a strategy that in the first phase was responding to immediate relief and response. How do we get out there quickly? How do we get dollars to those like the Red Cross or the community action agencies?
The front line.
The front line, the food bank, who can get food and water and shelter in place for those who most need it. We've been sort of sitting in that space and granting in that space over these first few weeks. As we get word across the state that the impacted areas are sort of moving into that next phase, we see that as the first phase of recovery. And that is building back our communities. And in that space, we're thinking, what do we need to do to bring those communities back? So we need to focus on housing and shelter. We need to focus on farms and working lands. We need to focus on Main Street vitality, so that Main Street businesses, the nonprofit organizations, the park benches, the open spaces that make you want to be, and feel that sense
infrastructure
of place.
In the broadest sense possible.
Yeah, that create the communities.
Yeah,
and then,
that's the point, creating the community.
All of these, right? Creating communities. And then the people who live in the communities, so mental health and well-being, also being an important piece in that building back communities. And then we do have a third phase out a little bit further that is about community and watershed resilience. And in the way that we saw Vermont build back stronger after Irene and make changes to the landscape that had helped, we need to do even more. So we have an eye on that piece as well.
So talk a little bit with me and our audience about helping people directly involved in flooding.
Yeah.
My basement, whatever it is, I've got an issue, and I may have some insurance help. I may think that I was well covered. How are we able to help people directly in this first phase?
Yeah. So out of the $2 million that we've granted out so far, over $1 million of that has gone to agencies and organizations at all levels, some of those statewide organizations, regional organizations, as well as community-based. So about 45 of those organizations, 11 of them are at the state and regional level, 34 Our team has been on the phone, on emails, reaching out through those extensive networks that the Community Foundation has to say who's on the ground, who's organizing volunteers, who's going door to door, right, to find out what each family needs, who knows, okay, this person's not going to ask, but they're going to need a ride, right, for a medical appointment. This person's going to need fans and dehumidifiers. Who are the groups that are opening up and feeding meals to volunteers and to those in need? So we've reached 34 of those organizations and all of the impacted communities. We also sent grants to another 40 organizations that focus on those who are most vulnerable. So older Vermonters, those who have been survivors of domestic violence, homeless or insufficiently housed, those with disabilities, children and youth, those who maybe don't speak English, right? So we've also tried to channel dollars that way. So a lot of funding has gone out through all these different network partners.
What you're talking about reminds me, it's just the growing up here in this Vermont community that one of our strengths may not be from a central point down, but we are connected at the community level. That whether we're a small town, whether we're a medium-sized city, everybody has those connections. And so what I'm hearing you say, and I just want to be sure I have this right, that the local community is sort of reporting up, here's what we have and here's what we need, and you're able to help respond to that through the fund.
Yeah, they're reporting up and we're reaching down, right? I mean, part of the beauty of a community foundation is that we have those extensive networks. So we've received donations and gifts from over 47 states, from all around the globe. If you don't live in that community, you might not know the most, the best way to give or the most important thing to do, but those on the ground, those neighbors, right, they do know. And so we have felt it's really important to work both at the state and regional level, but also to get local and hyper-local in the giving.
So Holly, I asked you very specifically about people directly impacted. Those people are the folks in our communities that are running our farms and other small businesses. So how are we able to support our small businesses, or frankly businesses of any size, but particularly the ones that may not have the built-up resiliency or the funds to bounce back as quickly?
It's such a challenge, isn't it? And it's been so sad to see the devastation. The other half, over $900,000 so far, has gone for fundraising efforts for businesses in Barrie, Montpelier, Ludlow, Londonderry, Weston, all across the state. So our small businesses can have some immediate relief while they're waiting for the federal government to come in and help out. We have also been working with organizations such as New Farms for New Americans, NOFA Vermont, the Center for an Agricultural Economy, to move dollars for farmers for also that immediate relief. We have opened up and expanded. We have a grant program that exists year-round that's called Sudden and Urgent Needs. We very quickly moved to open and expand that for any nonprofit organization that was directly affected by flooding. Can let us know, apply it through that, and we're quickly turning those around. So we've funded over 50 organizations, including more than 15 libraries and arts organizations whose materials were destroyed, who lost, space, can't function, can't hold events. And we need those nonprofit organizations in our communities to do the work that they do. It is so important. So how can we help with their recovery and getting back to work?
I'm going to point out to our viewers that if they're just joining us, I'm speaking with Holly Morehouse, the Vermont Community Foundation, and Vermont's Response and Recovery Fund. Our director, Chris Pauk, has very nicely put on the screen the website. We're going to have this again before the end of the program, but we're talking about vermontcf.org, vermontcommunityfoundation.org, Give to Flood Relief. Now, in preparing for the program and visiting the website, Holly, one of the things that I saw was there's information about counseling. This is full service. This is not just give us your money. There's a couple of other things, volunteering, but can you tell me a little bit about that psychological piece? What's going on when I've lost my photographs in the basement? I've lost all kinds of things that have personal meaning, that may have financial value. So what about the counseling piece?
The trauma and the stress behind every one of those images, right behind every home or business or farm that was just affected is very real, right? And it's coming in many cases after COVID, right? Like and right when we, stores were starting to get inventory back, they were starting to get employees back, starting to get that rhythm back, restaurants and so forth. So, the webpage is set up. A community foundation is about connecting. Right, it's about connecting donors and givers. It's about connecting those in need. It's about connecting with the state government and agencies and the governor's office. It's about connecting with local leaders. And so we wanted that webpage to serve as a place for people to come, right? So if you do, if you're struggling, someone who's struggling, we do have some resources on there for mental health and mental well-being. We also are listing, we're trying to be very transparent about where we're giving and where the dollars are going. So we're listing all of the organizations. So if you're in a local area, scan that list and see where we already sent dollars and reach out to that community action agency if you need support. Reach out to.
I'm going to jump in to reinforce that it's all there. Yes. I know by the time this program airs that there will be even more. And so again, we're running short of time, so very quickly, and I'm sorry to do this, but I did want to ask you, what was it like at the Community Foundation during these first few days?
It was all hands on deck. In many ways, the Community Foundation is created for a moment like this. I mean, our work is about working with all those partners that we named, with agencies and leaders at all levels, about bringing donors together, about creating that collective response.
Yep. We know that because I deal with you outside of just these situations. So those of us who are aware see it throughout the year. But this is a moment to shine. And Holly, with that, I need to stop us there as we're just about out of time. So thank you very much. And I'm going to leave our viewers with the information again about the Vermont Flood Response and Recovery Fund. Go to vermontcf.org/give to flood relief. If you need to, you can call 802-388-3355. And as Holly has pointed out during the program, there is all kinds of information, volunteer information, counseling, and perhaps most importantly of all, millions of dollars that are still coming in or being distributed around. That is our program for today. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit across the fence.